You all right? How you doing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I just want to formally address it to the audience. Yes, Tom and I are divorcing, and it is extremely sad.
3 weeks ago, I told you the Rogan sphere has a wife problem. Then Christina P sat down with Duncan Trussell on episode 871 of Your Mom's House, confirmed the divorce from Tom Segura on mic, and asked her audience for one thing. Don't pick a side. I get why she asked.
I just wanted to let you know, and the other staff members here, that the rumors are true, that your daddy and I are divorcing. Also want to say to people who are, because I haven't really looked at social media, but from what I've understood, some people are taking teams like Team Christina or Team Tom. Please don't do that.
I don't think it's going to work, and I don't think it should. Not because fans enjoy drama, but because Tom Segura spent the last few years actively training this exact audience not to extend him the benefit of the doubt. I already made the case that turning a marriage into a media company is risky by design. This one's narrower. Why does a request for neutrality land differently when one half of the couple has spent years on the record, in his own words, handing people specific reasons to already have an opinion about him? That distinction matters more than it sounds like it should, because it's the difference between an audience being fickle and an audience being consistent. Fickle would be turning on Tom for something that happened this week. What actually happened is years of receipts finally landing on the same episode as the news everyone was waiting for. Rewind to the early YMH days, and Tom Segura's whole appeal was that he felt like your funniest, most tired friend, the guy on the couch, unimpressed by everything, married to a woman who was clearly the sharper half of the operation. That version of Tom built a real audience the patient way, over more than a decade, one unbothered deadpan at a time. That's not nostalgia talking either. Go find any clip from YMH's first few years, and the appeal is obvious. Two people who seemed genuinely annoyed by the same dumb stuff you were annoyed by, in a room that looked like it cost $40 to decorate. It worked precisely because none of it looked expensive.
I just wanted to let you know, and the other staff members here, that the rumors are true, that your daddy and I are divorcing.
Notice who's delivering that line about the marriage ending. Christina. Solo. Tom nowhere to be seen. That's a small detail that turns out to matter a lot once you watch the rest of the episode.
He's going to host the show when he can, because he's filming a lot of films and television right now, and I'm going to host the show. And we're still going to have a good time.
So the heaviest episode in the show's 16-year history, and Tom's contribution is a scheduling note relayed by his soon-to-be ex-wife. He's filming. He'll pop in when he can. Fine. People have jobs, and touring comedians especially have jobs that eat entire months. But it's worth sitting with the optics for a second. Christina is the one physically present, explaining her own divorce to strangers, while Tom's whereabouts get summarized secondhand by the person he's divorcing.
And I go, he's looking good. He's in great shape. He's wearing Gucci everywhere. He's got Rolexes, Porsches.
He smells
But
different.
I would swoop in on Christina if that happened.
He smells different is doing a lot of work in that sentence, and Bert clearly means it as a compliment. Credit to Bert. That's a generous read. But listen to the whole list back to back. The shape, the labels, the watches, the cars. Taken individually, each detail is harmless enough. Lined up together, it reads less like a health update and more like a full glow-up. The kind that usually comes with its own TikTok transformation sound. Tom's own other show, Two Bears, One Cave, has an entire episode of him talking through starting TRT after getting his testosterone checked. Doctor prescribed. Nothing scandalous about that on its own. Plenty of people his age do it. Stacked next to the Gucci and the Rolexes and the Porsches, though, it stops looking like a coincidence. And here's a detail worth knowing, before we get to the actual controversy. Tom didn't build this from nothing. His father was a first vice president at Merrill Lynch. He grew up comfortable, went to a private high school in Florida, spent summers in Peru with family. None of that is a crime. Plenty of comedians come from money. But it matters in about 90 seconds once you hear what he actually said about people with less of it. This is also, worth noting, a documented enough shift that it's become its own genre of clip on TikTok. Tom Segura, before and after. Strangers narrating his transformation like it's a home renovation show. When your own audience starts making before and after content about your face and your watch collection, that's a real enough shift to sustain a trend, not just a rumor somebody started. Because Rebrand undersells what actually happened here. Somewhere in the last few years, Tom Segura's public persona drifted from relatable to something closer to a guy who forgot what relatable felt like, or one might say forgot what reality felt like if we add the context of a certain type of vape pen. Moving on. So yeah, he's even acknowledged the shift himself. In a tweet he later deleted, Segura wrote that the lowest level poors get upset, as they've been trained to do, when you point out their happy to do what I'm told servant mentality, and that they don't value time because their time is worthless. That's a complete sentence a millionaire comedian, whose dad ran a Merrill Lynch office, wrote about the people who made him a millionaire.
Did you try it even yet?
No, I'm not going to do it.
Well, you're just anti
I'm not-
leg.
I'm not going to wash my legs and feet.
You think that's just a people thing?
Clearly,
Well, and he's
the only one here who took the day off washes his legs and feet. No, I don't think it's a thing. I think using a washcloth is for poor people, but I
Yeah.
don't think that washing your legs and feet is for black people.
I agree. I think the washcloth is a poor person thing. Because
I've only met poors who use them.
That clip took off on its own, got covered by multiple outlets as a hygiene and class controversy, and turned the poors into a running joke people still throw at him 2 years later. One fan summed up the general mood at the time. He's not sitting in a chair to record the podcast, he's sitting on his own wallet. Another, less kindly, wrote that he'd been such a stuck-up little you-know-what for like the last 2 years that it's ruined the funny. Harsh, also going by the tweet above, not exactly unprovoked. It wasn't a one-off tweet either. A few months earlier, in December 2022, Segura posted a video telling people flat out not to be a loser, wealth flex content dressed up as motivation.
Every time we talk about like a watch or a car, I'll get a bunch of messages from losers that try to tell me that I'm making them feel bad about their situation. You're in control of your own situation and your own feelings. So don't put it on me that you feel bad, that I have something that, but I'm struggling with rent this month. Figure it out, okay? Like, don't make my life be a problem for your life. If you don't like it, guess what? You're not going to be able to control what people talk about. People are going to talk about things that you don't have for the rest of your life. So you can decide like, okay, I won't, fine, don't listen to me, don't listen to that person anymore, but you have to control your own feelings, okay? It's not on other people to make sure they don't talk about a topic that makes you feel bad.
And the private jet material is a bit Tom's told on his own shows, more than once, about preferring not to fly commercial anymore.
I'm boarding a flight from JFK to Austin, and I'm first in line. I'm first in line to board.
Yeah.
And this bitch goes, hey, you're going to have to check that bag.
Was it a duffel?
It's my roller that I take
It's a
on
roller.
every single trip.
It's a classic sized carry-on.
It's an
roller.
overhead.
Okay.
Yeah. She's like, it's too big. And I'm like, it's not too big. Anyway, you just give it up, which is what I did. You just go, okay.
Aw.
So then I get on the plane and I look and I'm like, this is a standard overhead thing. So I ask again, I go, why did they take the bag? They're just like, she just decided to. It's because the airlines are paying gate agents to confiscate bags. So they're giving them incentives. They're doing it to make money. And I just want to say it again. I was right, and you're still a fucking... Okay?
Wow.
3 separate years, 3 separate platforms, 1 consistent character. Some of it on its own is genuinely funny. Rich people saying unhinged things about poor people is a whole comedy subgenre, and Tom's clearly in on the bit half the time. The problem is that enough of the jokes stopped sounding like jokes and started sounding like his actual opinion, and his own fans were the ones who noticed the shift first. Set the washcloth line and the deleted tweet next to Duncan's Gucci and Rolex's description from episode 871, and you don't need me to connect the dots for you. Tom already connected them himself. Over multiple years, across multiple platforms. It's just his last few years, laid end to end. The timeline is what actually explains why the audience has zero patience left. On July 31st, 2024, Christina told listeners directly on the show that she'd been diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. I have very, very early-stage breast cancer, she said. It's totally treatable. I will not die.
I have very, very early stage breast cancer. Womp womp. So, yeah. So, but it's totally treatable. The prognosis is very, very good. I will not die. This is not my last summer on Earth. I've already asked everybody.
The treatment ahead of her was going to be aggressive. She still hosted anyway, days later, because she said the show was the thing keeping her sane.
Grief, that's grief Zempic.
It's cheaper. Divorce is cheaper than Ozempic.
Oh, yeah, it is.
This is nature's weight loss, nature's AIDS. Yeah,
oh,
terrible.
God. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, these two things intersecting in your life,
I know.
Cancer and divorce?
Bro. And like, how long was it? 3 years? This is like a 3-year span to go through like the most horrific.
Yeah.
People are like, moving's hard. That's the hardest thing you'll ever do.
The divorce is cheaper than Ozempic line isn't a random joke either. Months before any of this, in April 2024, Christina told her own audience she'd accidentally taken 10 times her prescribed Ozempic dose and spent a night violently sick because of it. So when she jokes about Ozempic in the same breath as grief, she's referencing something that actually happened to her badly and turning it into a bit anyway, because that's apparently just how she processes things. A few weeks after that cancer announcement, Tom went on Joe Rogan's show for episode 2202, and the comment section didn't want to talk about the interview. It wanted to talk about the Poors tweet, which had resurfaced right on schedule. Tom should be home taking care of his wife, one fan wrote. It's not subtle, the thing people were actually angry about. A guy whose wife had just told the internet she had cancer, back online within weeks, still getting dragged for telling his fans their time is worthless, and apparently not especially bothered by the timing. The cancer, for what it's worth, turned out to be more involved than very early stage initially suggested. Weeks after her first surgery, Christina told listeners the doctors hadn't gotten everything, and she'd need a second round, eventually a full mastectomy with reconstruction. By August of 2025, she was posting that she'd hit 1 year cancer-free. That's the actual shape of the 3-year span she references in this episode. A cancer diagnosis that turned into more surgery than expected, followed by a marriage ending, both processed in public on the same show, on schedule.
Get my life is a garbage fire. Let's smoke some cigarettes and get drunk and eat Dominoes. Who gives a shit?
That's Christina's version of processing a crisis. Cigarettes, wine, a Domino's thin crust, and getting back on mic to make her audience laugh anyway, right on schedule. Cancer or no cancer? Flattering? No. Better than putting gold flakes on a dog turd like her former counterpart? Yes. It is, by every account available, exactly what she actually did in public, while her husband was reportedly out here polishing a watch collection and telling the internet its time is worthless.
I was in a pub in London when that TMZ article broke, and I was so grateful to be with friends. Like,
Yeah.
what are the chances that A, I was out of the country, right, and B, amongst like old, like a real friend, like Ari's been in our lives forever.
Forever.
And now he's awesome. He's not anymore.
No.
And it was like the best company to have, and I really appreciate Ari being there.
Real friends is a specific phrase to choose in that sentence, and it's doing more work than it looks like it's doing. She finds out her own divorce is now a headline, and the person keeping her company is Ari Shafir, who's been in this circle for 2 decades, not Tom.
You guys have been there in my darkest hour, truly. And two darkest hours. Actually, you were the first person I called when I got diagnosed with cancer. And then you were there for like my nervous breakdown about divorce. Pretty cool, right?
I'm not going anywhere.
No. We're in it. We're in it for life, buddy. You and me. All right.
Read that back. The first call after a cancer diagnosis went to Duncan Trussell, a guest on her own show, not her husband. I'm not going to tell you what that means about the marriage because Christina hasn't, and it isn't my story to finish for her. But it's not nothing that it wasn't Tom. It's the same pattern from the top of this video, just with higher stakes. When things actually got hard, Tom's presence gets described secondhand, and somebody else shows up in his place. It's that across two of the hardest stretches of her life, a cancer diagnosis and a divorce, a rotating cast of actual friends kept filling in for the one person whose job that was supposed to be. Call it a pattern rather than bad luck, and the name attached to that pattern isn't Duncan's.
I love Tom, and I will love him forever. He's the father of my children, and I learned so much from him.
Yeah.
And we grew up together.
Yeah.
And also you guys, the audience, have grown up with us. You grow up with somebody and then
people changes.
Yeah, they just changes. What are you going to do?
And to her enormous credit, she still doesn't take a shot at him here. That's Christina being generous with a guy the internet has already decided it's done being generous with. She's asking you to leave the two of them alone, not to hate Tom. Two very different requests. And only one of them is still achievable, because Tom made the other one impossible on his own timeline, years before this divorce was ever public.
I changed tremendously after having cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a total awakening. I completely realigned everything inside of me, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I'm rearranged.
Yeah.
Notice the direction of that change. Cancer made Christina slower, more honest, more direct with her own audience. She says as much herself. Whatever Tom went through in that same stretch of years produced Gucci, Rolexes, a testosterone regimen, and a tweet about poor people's worthless time. Same 3-ish years on the same show in the same marriage. Two very different transformations, and only one of them made anybody easier to root for. That's the actual asymmetry underneath all of it, and it's a different one than who's the victim. It's who kept showing up as themselves, and who spent the same stretch of time turning into someone their own fans had to make TikToks about. Christina didn't need a redemption arc, because she never really left the character that made people like her in the first place. Tom's transformation happened gradually, with an audience watching the whole time.
Because I haven't really looked at social media, but from what I've understood, some people are taking teams like Team Christina or Team Tom. Please don't do that. There's no need to do it, number one, because Tom and I do not hate each other. We have a family. And you don't need to take teams.
Here's my actual opinion on it. I don't think the audience picking a side here is the audience being cruel or petty or addicted to drama for its own sake. I think it's the predictable result of one person in this marriage spending years being warm and self-deprecating on mic, and the other spending years being condescending about people's time and worth in public, under his own name, with nobody else to blame it on. To be fair to Tom for a second, because I don't think the case against him needs exaggerating to land, none of this proves anything about what actually happened inside the marriage, or who did what to whom behind closed doors, and I'm not going to pretend it does. But that's exactly the distinction "don't pick a side" collapses, and it's the whole reason it doesn't work here. Nobody in the audience has enough information to have an opinion about the marriage itself. That part genuinely isn't theirs to judge. What they do have an opinion about is Tom Segura specifically, based on years of stuff he declared himself. Don't pick a side asks people to extend neutrality to the marriage. What it actually costs them is neutrality toward Tom, and that's a much bigger ask, because he's the one who spent years making sure they didn't have it to give. To be clear about what picking a side should actually mean here, because it's worth saying plainly, having an opinion about a public figure's public behavior should be expected. You're allowed to think someone handled fame badly without sending him anything you wouldn't say to a person's face. The audience withholding goodwill from Tom going forward, not renewing the benefit of the doubt, not laughing as hard at the next bit, is a completely different thing from organizing against him, and only one of those is actually a reasonable response to a deleted tweet. You could argue this is all just how comedians talk, that the poor's stuff is a bit, that outrage culture can't take a joke, that Tom's just playing a character the same way half the Rogan sphere plays a character. Maybe. But characters are choices too, and a comedian who's spent years building a bit where the punchline is always, "You're broke and your time doesn't matter," doesn't get to be surprised when the audience stops assuming it's a bit the moment it stops being funny to them. At some point, the character and the guy wearing it stop being different things.
It's gone.
Brilliant.
The Tropicana's gone. Beef and Barrel's gone.
Marriage is gone.
Marriage is gone.
Too late for you. What is it? Say it again.
Too late for you. Too late for the lamb.
My love.
My love, my
Isn't that-
sister.
My sister from another mister. That's the best thing to end on. Say it again.
Too late for you. Too late for the lamb.
I know. So you make the best of what is.
Yeah.
And that's what we shall do. We shall prevail. We shall survive. It is what it is, kids. But your mommy's here.
Christina's going to be fine. She was already the one showing up, long before the internet decided to root for her, cracking jokes about dominoes, calling her actual friends instead of hiding, getting on mic to tell her own staff the truth before anyone else could tell it for her. Tom's probably going to be fine, too. In the specific way people with a Porsche and a Rolex collection tend to land on their feet. But fine and forgiven aren't the same thing, and going into this episode, only one of those was ever actually on the table for him. Whether that changes anything long-term is worth watching. Public opinion on comedians is rarely permanent. People get forgiven for less than a deleted tweet all the time, especially once they stop being the center of the story. But Tom's not stepping out of the spotlight here. He's still co-hosting the same show, still touring, still going to be on camera saying things, and every one of those appearances is now happening in front of an audience that's already decided what kind of guy he turned into. That's a harder rebuild than a bad news cycle. That's a reputation people built brick by brick, tweet by tweet over years, and he's the one who laid every brick. There's also a practical question sitting underneath all of this. What happens to your mom's house itself? Reporting since the split says both of them plan to keep co-hosting. That's a strange business to be in. Recording a comedy podcast twice a week with your ex in front of an audience that already has a favorite. If Tom's segments start drawing worse numbers than Christina's solo stretches, that's not a mystery anyone will need to solve. The larger lesson here probably isn't really about Tom specifically either. It's about what happens when a public persona and an actual audience drift in opposite directions for long enough. Fans forgive almost anything, except feeling condescended to. Tom found the one move that doesn't wash off, and he made it more than once on purpose over several years, right up until the exact moment his marriage became public property too. So no, I don't think this audience is going to sit this one out neutrally, and honestly, I don't think they should have to. What do you think? Is that fair to Tom, or did he spend the goodwill himself, years before this divorce ever went public? Tell me in the comments. Hit subscribe if you made it to the end. And if you want the full breakdown of how this ecosystem keeps turning marriages into content, and then acting surprised when the content has an ending, that video is linked right down there.